I can't hear
Hi.
you.
Hi.
Ah,
Sorry about that. I just realized my microphone was muted. Hi, guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Evelyn Njeri, and this is the Holistic Wellbeing. And this is a new show called Mind to Mind. And we have come together with Dr. Daniel Claiborn to host and to talk about mental wellness, mental health, which is a huge issue in the world right now. I am from Nairobi, Kenya, and I am grateful for you guys joining us. And I'd like Dr. Claiborne to introduce himself.
okay. My name is Daniel Claiborn. I'm a psychologist here in the United States, and I have had the pleasure of visiting Kenya twice and really loved it. Ever since I was a child, I fantasized about Africa and read books and loved animals and just my dream was to go to Africa. And the first time was about 25 years ago, and I came there and went on the safari in Kenya and also Tanzania, and loved it and made friends with our tour director and have been best friends with him and his family ever since then. And they've had the opportunity to visit us in the United States several times, and we recently in 2019 went back and visited them and their family in Nairobi and went on another safari, which was wonderful. Um, so anyway, and then I met Evelyn and was very impressed with her and her passion about mental health, and was happy to help with this show. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to talk to a lot of you directly or indirectly and cover a lot of mental health topics in the next months to come.
That's great. Welcome, Dr. Claiborne. And I am so grateful and honored that you agreed to do this live with me. I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate you for that. On today's channel, on today's episode, we are going to be revealing more about ourselves, and what better way to do that by asking each other questions. What do you think about that, Dan?
I think that's a good idea. Psychologists love asking questions.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to ask you questions.
Yeah, so we are gonna do a little bit of a Q&A, and I remember you sent me some of your questions, and I will be airing some of the questions on the screen, and hopefully um, you guys can also read them. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to comment and ask questions on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We are live on all three platforms. So yeah, feel free. We are going to be able to see all the comments as you guys send them.
And
So
something I would like to add is that even after today's program, please feel free to contact Evelyn with further questions or ideas about future topics. And so you don't have to do that just during our program. You can do that in between programs. And Evelyn can also give you my email address so that if you want to email me directly, please feel free to do that. You're very welcome to do that.
yeah, that's really nice, Dr. Claiborne. And how would you like us to address you? Like, how would you like the world to address Dr. Dan, Dr. Claiborne? I like Dr. Claiborne.
Yeah, I think Your Excellency would be a good choice. Um, no, my a lot of my clients call me Dr. Dan,
Uh-huh.
so that's
I don't
fine.
know why I find Claiborne to be unique, and I think that's what I like. But everyone else is free to choose how they'd like to address, as long as there's no insults
No,
whatsoever.
Dr.
Yeah.
Claiborne is fine. Claiborne is an English name. Um, so our family goes back to Northwest England. Um,
Mhm.
However people want to address me is fine.
All right. I want to begin by asking you the first question. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I can be. You're always full of surprises, Evelyn. So I'm ready.
All right. Dr. Dan, did you always know that you will become a psychologist?
No, when I was growing up in a small town, we knew nothing about psychologists or what they were or what they did. When I went to university, I majored in mathematics at first, and but I gradually became interested in psychology as I became exposed to it at the university. And the more I studied it, and the more I felt it was a good fit, and fell in love with it.
Wow, that's interesting. And would you say how many years have you been? I think I wanted to ask this question later, but would you say it has been a fulfilling journey to be a psychologist?
What is the question?
Would you say that you have had a fulfilling journey
Oh yes,
pursuing
yes,
psychology?
yes. I've been a therapist for 53 years now, and
Wow.
I never get tired of it. It's just really interesting, the different people I've been able to meet along the way, and the science that I've learned, and techniques, and it's all been very, very fulfilling.
Wow, that's really
And
amazing.
I'm looking forward to this program because I think this will also be very fulfilling. I'm eager to find out more about mental health concerns in Kenya and Africa,
Mhm.
and to share some of the things that I've learned with your listeners and your viewers.
And I think that's amazing. I think for you, for one to be like, you have to be really interested or have passion for psychology for you to pursue it. I think passion is really important when it comes to psychology because it's all about helping people. And if you don't have the passion, I really don't think like someone will just wake up and say, I want to become a psychologist.
I think that's right. Some people who go into psychology or other fields, if they really can't find their passion, they often treat it more like a job. And then they find their passions in some other area, like hobbies or outside activities, if they can't find it at work. But luckily, um, I've found a lot of interest and passion in my profession itself. And so
Mhm.
that's never really been a problem.
And thank you for sharing that. And this it's now your turn to ask me a question.
I have
I'm thinking,
a list of questions that I have come up with for Evelyn. One thing I wanted to ask you, Evelyn, and I know some of the answers to these questions, but the viewers might be interested. What do you
mhm.
see as your passions with mental health or outside of mental health?
um, I think I'd like to begin on how I came to be interested in mental health. I realized when I was really younger that I was interested in understanding various personalities, like different people. Why do different people behave in different ways?
Hmm.
And I think also like behavioral analysis. I used to do that without knowing I was doing it. Like I wanted to understand like what is the backstory to why is someone um, acting in a certain way and what drives them. How does like your history affect who you are and things like that. And mostly it's about me. I want to understand myself, and I think my passion for mental wellness, I actually had to go through a deep journey for myself over the years. I think in my 20s, trying to understand like why do I like certain things, why am I the way I am, and why do certain experiences affect me in such a negative way, and how can I become stronger both in mind and in spirit. Yeah, such things. And I actually learned, I did a lot of research online, all on my own. Like I have been studying more in the past 3 years than I have, I think, in a while. And most of it is researching more on mental wellness. So I can say I have a huge passion when it comes to mental wellness.
Right. You also, as I know, have other passions too. Maybe some of your friends watching already know this, but what are some of your other passions? I found them very interesting.
Um, I, I like to describe myself as a creative
Yes.
because, yeah, because I'm in the modeling industry. I am also in the fashion, modeling and fashion industry. I am in the music industry as well, and I also paint.
Yes.
And right now, yeah, I also create poetry, and yeah,
Hmm.
so I am very artistic. I like to define it as creativity because I am the kind of person who can observe something and recreate it or find a new and better way to create it.
Hmm.
And that goes even for the kitchen, like even cooking. I remember like I first learned how to cook by watching my mom. And then I never even like told her, I never told my mother to teach me how to cook. I watched her, um, and I think I was like 9 years old. And then the next minute, like I just wanted to surprise her because I think when I'm in my creative process, I don't like trying something new with someone there. So I went to the kitchen, prepared a meal, took it to my mom, and she was shocked, and she asked me like, how in the world did you learn how to cook? You would have burnt yourself or something. And funny enough, it turned out to be so good. And I think that's how I learned to make various dishes. Like
Hmm.
even like in Kenya, we have this meal called ugali, and ugali is like one of the toughest things. It's not really tough, but you have to kind of like know how to balance between the water and the corn flour. So it's something that takes a while for people to learn how to cook, and that is also another thing that really shocked my mom.
Uh,
I was able to do that, yeah.
what
So
I hear
uh,
you saying, Evelyn, is that you're both observant and expressive. So
yeah.
things come in and you're curious and observant and
Hmm.
analytical, and then you produce something outward. And
Yeah,
in a way, you're almost like your own medium. You
yeah.
take things in and you produce them out. How did you become interested in another side of you? I know is an interest in public service, helping the public or
I have
presenting,
always been really
whether it's
empathetic.
helping or even artistic or band, your band or your art. It has to do with reaching out to the public.
I have always been really empathetic. I'm the kind of person who, when I see something happening and I'm able to do something about it, me not doing something about it will hurt me more than if I do it. So it's easier for me to do something about it other than not do something about it. I think it's just in me. I'm really sensitive to people's emotions, and I tend to draw in, like I'm really trying to regulate that right now because it's um I tend to feel people's pain. Like you'll find me crying because someone else is crying. Like I'm that sensitive.
Right. Uh-huh. Empathy.
Yeah, so I end up it helps a lot because you tend to really understand people and their personalities, and sometimes I am able to observe even nonverbal cues, like maybe there's something something was said, or maybe I did something or said something to someone, and like they really did not take it well. You don't have to tell me, like sometimes I can see it and I correct it very fast, but you find like it's not normal to most people. So That's why I find myself in the need to help others.
Is it a little difficult for you, Evelyn, to do this kind of program where you can't see the people watching and you can't see what they're thinking or feeling, or is that a little difficult?
Yeah, it is because like right now, to be honest, I'm really nervous, and it's not my first time to do this, but I don't know, like I find it's easier to interact with people live, and
Yeah,
it's so much easier that you're here joining me.
yeah.
Because if I was the only person on the screen right now, it will be so much worse. Uh, but I tend to have easier conversations with
Uh-huh.
another human being other than like talking to the camera. Oh my God.
Do you ever, Evelyn, do you ever talk to yourself?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I thought maybe you might.
Yeah, I do. But I read somewhere that it is a sign of intelligence. So I don't take it so badly nowadays. Like it is a sign of intelligence, like someone who speaks to themselves.
Well, probably it's a sign of thoughtfulness, at least. I have other questions.
Uh-huh.
Um, let's see. Oh, now that you've studied this and you're invested in mental health and observant, and how do you take care of yourself emotionally, day to day, week to week? What are your the things that you do that or try to do that help you?
I work out every morning, and at least I try to. I won't lie to people that I work out every morning. I try to work out every morning
Uh-huh.
because when I work out, it helps with like I blow off steam, and also I don't know, it gives me energy. I feel so much better like
Mhm.
afterwards. And I am in therapy with a certain doctor that I know. I've been doing therapy with Dr. Claiborn for almost a year now. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even before that, like I had been doing therapy for a while. It is really important to be able to process your emotions. And sometimes life throws a lot of things at you, and you need to be able to take care of yourself. Yeah, so
What
I
is
think
this Dr. Claiborne guy? What is he like as a therapist?
I have been having a really good time, to be honest. Like sometimes I don't even realize I'm in therapy. I feel like I come to report to you what I've been up to, and it's not intense. People think therapy is such a people actually think, to be honest, like people have a really negative attitude towards what therapy can do for you, and it has been such a beautiful experience with you. You are hilarious. Sometimes you actually help me and then you put in humor into it, and I don't know, people are going to experience that side of you, and I actually can't wait because it makes me feel comfortable, like you remove the tension, and I like that you're thoughtful. I like that you also listen and you remember like what maybe I told you like from a previous session and things like that. And that means that you pay attention, and that's really important.
Sometimes I find that using humor sometimes in our therapy or any therapy
Mhm.
is it does make people feel comfortable, but also it actually is a compliment to the client because it implies that they are able to handle it. And it's I think humor speaks to the person's strengths. It
Yeah.
treats them as an equal person and as somebody who's capable of seeing the humor and handling it. Now, sometimes it's not appropriate, and so I wouldn't
Mhm.
always do that. Let's see what else I thought of. You're a very interesting person, so it was easy to think of questions. What do you see as your strengths as a person at this point in your life?
I think one of my superpower is the observation skill. Like I am able to observe certain things that not everyone sees. Sometimes I say things like, for example, like sometimes I can go watch a movie with someone and I will be able, I've never watched this movie before in my entire life, but I will be able to know who who is the murder, like who killed the, like the guy or
Mhm.
the person. Like I'm able
Uh-huh.
to learn. I don't know. Like I'm able to read someone's behavior, even if they are trying to be as mysterious as possible. I don't know, for some weird reason, I'm able to see all that.
Mhm.
And it helps me in a room full of people, and I'm able to understand like what is going on. I'm able to read the room. I'm able to also understand, like, I don't know, it helps me with how I deal with people and how I talk to people. And it also helps me with learning. Like I learn really fast because of it.
Mhm.
I can watch something, I can read something and try it out really fast. Yeah, I think
Uh-huh.
that basically covers it.
Mhm. Sometimes we think of our greatest strengths as
Mhm.
also our greatest weaknesses because a lot of our strengths have a shadow side that is a
Yeah,
weakness. For example, I'm very organized, but sometimes that can be too much, and it can
yeah,
result
that's
in too
true.
much structure. And you're very observant and
Yeah,
intuitive, and but yet sometimes that can lead you down a path that's not correct. You can
yeah,
think,
it leads me
feel.
to overthinking. I tend to overthink a lot and
Mhm.
overanalyze. Like maybe something is not that much of a big deal, but to me, I think I will take it really, like I'll take it
Uh-huh.
deeply into my heart. And yeah, it could be true, like what I have observed, but it's not that serious. Like
Right.
sometimes I take it too seriously. And
Yeah,
or
I think.
maybe I will notice something and maybe say something to someone which was supposed to be like an inner thought to them. So if I say it out loud, it will feel invasive. So
Yes.
I also
Yes.
like have learned not to point it out because it might come out as a judgmental, as a judge, like
Mhm.
I am being judgmental, and I don't
Right.
don't like to make people feel uncomfortable.
I think one of our challenges in life is to gradually, at first, recognize our strengths and know what they are, and then
Hmm.
the next phase is learning how to use them, and the
Yeah,
next phase is learning how not to use them.
yeah,
So it's a gradual kind of becoming accustomed to the skills and the gifts that we have.
yeah.
Let's see. Um, well,
Would you
this
mind if I ask you a question?
excuse me. What'd you say?
Would you mind if I asked you a
Oh
question?
no, no.
So I was really curious at um like what is the most exciting experience of your career? Like what has been the
Well,
most shocking case you
I
have?
knew you were going to ask me that question. And I thought about it, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think there is one thing that's the most exciting. It's
Mm-hmm.
all been very fulfilling. Occasionally, I have somebody that I've worked with who has a breakthrough and becomes really successful at something or overcomes something, and I take a great deal of pleasure from that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for many years, I've worked with police departments helping officers handle stress and react to traumatic events that have happened, and they're very grateful and appreciative of the help, and that's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Um, what else? So I guess it's the things I remember are things that are more fulfilling to me, not really
Mhm.
exciting. Um, I thought about this question. I tried to think of something that might have been really exciting. There have been a few times where I've been a consultant to presidents of corporations, and I've been able to help them make certain changes or that affect many people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been exciting. And I think the other thing that's been exciting to me is whenever I've had the opportunity to do teaching. For many years, I taught at the university level too, as well as being a psychologist in practice. And I loved teaching students, and I still do. And so, whenever I get a chance to do a guest lecture or something, I jump on it, and I really get excited about teaching. And I think there's excitement too whenever we've worked on a concept with somebody and they get it. It dawns on them what we're talking about, and I can see that look of joy on their
Yeah,
face when they discover something, and that's exciting.
yeah. Have you experienced like a really shocking case that like something that came to your that really I don't know threw you off your game for a
Yes,
minute?
yes. I think the things that puzzle me most, but also really interest me, are when people do things that are against their own best interests. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I'm working with, let's say I'm evaluating somebody who's a criminal and
Mm-hmm.
who's been a murderer or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, um, it is shocking that not only what they've done to someone else, but really what that lifestyle is doing to themselves.
Yeah.
That's shocking. Another shocking thing is when, and I'm noticing it more these days, where there are adult children in their 30s or 40s, and for some reason they have rejected their parents and they've become estranged from their own parents. And now I'm not speaking of those people who were highly abused or something like that, but where they've
Mhm.
become estranged from actually very good parents, and they won't they resist the parents' efforts to try to come back together. And that's I feel sad in
Yeah.
those situations because both the parents and the adult child are missing something when that
Yeah.
happens. Trying to think of other shocking things. Once I was working in a situation in counseling with a brand
Mm-hmm.
new female student at a university, and she was
Mm-hmm.
from South America. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the meeting, she jumped on the floor and grabbed my legs and started begging me to help her.
Whoa.
And so I did not I did not know what to do in that situation. Uh,
Wow.
Another funny situation was one time I was talking with one of my clients, and I was tilting back in my chair, back and rocking
Mm-hmm.
back and forth. And all of a sudden, I tilted back too far and fell over on the floor.
Oh my
And,
God.
and I just kept on talking. And so the client thought that was hilarious.
I think I have a fear of falling. Like anytime I'm walking, or I don't know, like there's a sign of me falling just traumatizes me. I don't know why.
Well, I used to tell my students about this because I wanted them to know that when you're being a therapist, even the most weird things can happen, and you
Mm-hmm.
can go right on and recover from it. So
Yeah.
that was a funny thing. What other questions might you have?
I had a follow-up question on the aspect of like you working with um like how do you feel when like you're trying to help someone, do you get frustrated like when you're trying to help someone and like like this is the right path, this is what they should do, and this is how like if you do this it's gonna help you, like okay, psychology is very different from advice. And when you're counseling someone, it's mostly like to lead them into the right direction. Do you find it frustrating, like when you're trying to help someone, but they're constantly sabotaging themselves?
Mhm. This is an issue I have had to work on because by
Hmm.
nature I tend to be impatient. And
Yeah.
so I've really had to train myself over the years to not be impatient with clients, not people
Yeah.
move at their own speed. And
Hmm.
so I don't get that frustrated anymore. I do give feedback to the client when I think
Yeah.
they're stuck or
Hmm.
uh, and I try to find other creative ways to get to the same place maybe we haven't tried yet. So it challenges my creativity a little bit to take a different approach. In
Yeah.
psychology, there are many different approaches to things. And over the years, since I've had so much experience, I really know a lot of what those are. So usually I don't let myself become frustrated. I just take a different approach.
Yeah.
And that's
I
that.
think patience is really important. Sorry. I'm saying that I think patience is really important, like for you to become a psychologist, because it's not about like driving people to behave and react the way you do. It's more so about you helping someone to be the best version of themselves. And it can
Mhm.
be really, really frustrating, especially when like you have to get out of self and trying to put yourself in this other person's shoes,
Yes.
um, so that you can try and understand like where they're coming
Al-
from, like
Also, I
what,
think there's a need for a great deal of humility as
yeah.
a therapist or as a teacher or anybody like what you're doing, where you're trying
Hmm.
to help people. I mean, we can only do so much. And the research shows that in therapy, the things that the client brings to the therapy are more important in terms of success than what the therapist brings to the therapy. The client is
Yeah.
more important, what their motivations are and their energy and their ideas, and they're really in a way they're in control of how
Yeah.
successful the therapy will be. And so the therapist, I think, yes, has to be patient, but also humble. I mean, no one person can really control the life of another person. And
Yeah.
so we have to keep that in mind.
I think you just reminded me of a conversation like I went I went to a talk show last year, um hosted by KTN. KTN is one of stations here in Kenya, and they were having a mental wellness discussion with different panelists, and even there's a lady who was one of the panelists, and she said she has been she has been facilitating different mental wellness, mental awareness programs. And she was saying like one of the biggest challenges like the experience is that you create all these programs and you have all these ideas on how to help people to get away from drugs, alcohol, and also to start choosing better paths for themselves, or even deal with childhood trauma, or like get out of an abusive relationship. But you find that the person has to be willing to put in the work as well as the therapist. There are people who think of a therapy session like the therapist will do all the work, and or they're gonna tell me what to do, you know.
Uh-huh.
But it usually like you both have to do the work. Like I do my part and you do your part, and that's how it becomes successful.
Yes, it really is a team effort.
Yeah.
And right. And I've had some people that I've worked with over the years that didn't really make that much progress while we were working together. But I found out later that in the next year or two, they kept using our ideas and our
Hmm.
strategies, and on their own became much better after we've had finished working together. So that also can happen.
Yeah.
By the way, this is also a key to being a good parent because
Yeah.
as our kids grow up and they become older, we have less control over what they do and how happy they become and what they don't do. And so really the same qualities are necessary: being patient, being humble, about how much power we have, actually, and also finally also having faith. Faith
Yeah.
in the person, that there's an instinct in them that wants to be better, wants to
Mm.
grow up, wants to be healthier, and that at some point they can tap into that hope and faith in themselves. And
Mhm.
it isn't just up to us to help them. They can do that a lot on their own. With adult children, that's very, we know what our children are going through, and we want to help them, but they are their own person now, and so they
Yeah.
have to figure things out for themselves.
Mm. Um, there is a question for you, Dr. Claiborn, from one of our viewers, and they're saying to the doctor, do you find yourself analyzing your friends while outside practice?
The answer to that is no, not really. Um, I really turn that off and don't think about it that way. Same thing with my kids, but occasionally I'll notice something in one of my friends or
Mhm.
our children that either is something good, and I do notice it and think about it as a psychologist, or it may be a problem and I
Mhm.
notice it. And if it's one of my children or one of my friends, I bring it up and I say, here's what I've noticed. And is there something I can do to help you? But mostly these days, I have I my therapy is I go out to lunch with friends every day almost. And when I am out with them, I notice I like studying. Each one of them has such an interesting, different personality, and it's
Mhm.
it's not so much analyzing them; it's more like appreciating them, like a work of art. I have a
Yeah.
theory that each of us is like a work of art, and that as we grow every day, we're either adding to that work of art or we're taking away from it. And then the day we die, it's finished. And so I enjoy watching my friends. Each of them, most of them are in their 70s, and they've had a whole career, a whole life, either as a
Mhm.
therapist or a teacher or whatever. And I really it's like being in an art gallery. I like watching each one of them and how they have blossomed into this unique, wonderful person that they are. Not perfect, but I just enjoy noticing how interesting they are. And I always come away from those meetings, those lunches, feeling fulfilled, or in a way, just like I feel when I come away from an art gallery.
Wow. I actually never realized it, but I think I also I enjoy like understanding different personalities. It's not it's not necessarily analyzing people, but it gives you like a really high appreciation for who people are, and like the importance of why they are the way they are. Like I like to say that a lot, but I really do mean it. Like, and I never thought of it in that sense. Like it is like a piece of art, like watching someone grow, learn, improve themselves, like fail, get up, and like they're able to get themselves out of a situation. And I think one thing I've really come to understand is that, like, you may be going through something right now, and it may seem like that is a permanent, like, state, that it is a permanent state. But to be honest, you find that the more you go, it's just like a season in your life that comes, pass. You take your lessons, you move forward, and life is really
Yeah, they
it's
say that there are
a
three common, um, what would I call them, essential factors of life that we can't change. And one of them is pain, that
yeah.
it's a part of life. One of them
Mhm.
is uncertainty,
Mhm.
and then the third one is hard work.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of nice. Have anybody else ask a question?
Yeah, it was only Danny Washira. Thank you so much for your question. We don't have any other question as for now.
I
Guys,
have
feel
I have a
free
question
to
for
uh-huh.
our host. What does being African mean to you?
I have been thinking about that question, and I have never like really looked at myself like I'm African, white. I don't know. Like I honestly do not know how to answer that question.
Do you think
Like
of
I
yourself
am
more in Africa? Do you think of yourself more as African or more as Kenyan? Or is there a difference?
I think of myself first of all as a Kenyan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then an African because um like Kenya in itself is just beautiful. Like the people, the places, like we have 47 counties in Kenya, and in all those counties you'll find different people, different cultures. You will find different languages, different types of food, and it is a nice experience. So I think I first of all see myself as a Kenyan, then an African.
Uh-huh. I found
Yeah.
when there are two trips to Kenya that
Hmm.
the Kenyan people in general were extremely kind and friendly. Um, I noticed that and also I found them to be very entrepreneurial. Very. I remember one of my most memorable experiences was driving through that really large slum in Nairobi, and
Yeah.
this is in our last trip in 2019. And
Hmm.
everywhere, all along the way, people were enterprising. They were selling something. They were building something, creating something, um,
Yeah.
producing something. I mean, it was very impressive to me.
Kenyans are known like all over the world. Wherever they go, you'll find like when a Kenyan goes there, they will find a way to start a business. I don't
Uh-huh.
know.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like they will find a way, like even if they are working for someone and they'll find a way to through their way into the country they are in, they end up starting an enterprise for some weird reason.
Uh-huh. I'm,
And
I'm not
I think it's
surprised.
a people way.
And the other
Sorry.
thing I noticed, even on that drive through the slum area, was that
Uh-huh.
not only the enterprising part, but also people were cheerful.
Yeah.
It was not what if somebody told me I would be taking a drive through a poverty slum area, I wouldn't expect either one of those things. But I did notice that in everywhere. Um, on our safari trips, also people have been so friendly and helpful, and you know, positive.
Yeah. We we are really friendly, and I think it's really easy for someone from any part of the country to come to Kenya and fit right in, because as much as like we like our national language is English and Kiswahili, so you find like most people are able to speak in English, and that's why it is easier for like us to interact even with foreigners.
Uh,
And yeah, like right now, I don't think like we have a lot of places where people don't know how to speak in English. It may not be as clear, and it may not be it may have like a lot of accents, but you find like people are able to communicate with the outside world, and I think that's really beautiful. I would like to share some of your photos
oh
of
yes,
you
sure.
in Kenya. Like tell us about the safari. Like how was the experience?
Okay, are you? Oh, there's one.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. This was a lunch near a river
Mhm.
on one of our. We were coming back from a balloon ride that
Mm-hmm.
morning, and they fixed a lunch, and it was out in the open. It was really nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned, from childhood, fantasized about Africa and animals. And my father gave me a book when I was really little. It was called Parade of the Animal Kingdom. And it had all sorts of animals in it. But the ones I was attracted to the most were animals from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
lions and elephants and giraffes. And it was both of our safaris. It was just miraculous to see hundreds of animals gathered together and free to roam and act, be able to have human beings come close to them and look at them. And I didn't actually touch any, except at one of our safaris, a rhinoceros came up and but put his head right next to our Jeep, and he was about
Wow.
a foot from me, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to pet him, but our guide probably would have disapproved, so I didn't actually pet him. But were able to pet a rhinoceros at the baby elephant preserve in Nairobi. They had a blind rhinoceros that they'd had for many years. Do you have that picture?
I didn't get it, but maybe we can
Oh,
share next time.
okay. I did resend it to you, so I want you to see it. Anyway, this older blind rhinoceros would twice a day come up to the visitor area and would
Mm-hmm.
let people pet him. And so I loved that. Um, I like touching animals a lot. This one is we're on the I think that's at the equator with
Mm-hmm.
me and my wife and our friend James, who was our safari director and the person that later became a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you can see in that picture I'm wearing shorts. I like wearing shorts almost all the time. So now that we're in the pandemic, we've been through the pandemic and we're doing everything online, even
Mm-hmm.
when I'm testifying in court, I can actually be wearing shorts and sitting at home, and I'm online with my tie and looking formal, but
Yeah.
unbeknownst to everyone else, I'm actually wearing shorts. So I I loved wearing shorts in Africa. Do you have another
Wow.
one?
Maybe like we can ask the last question.
Sure.
So if yeah, do you have a question
Oh,
for me?
and by the way, Evelyn, I don't have to leave early like I thought I might.
Oh,
So I
okay.
can I can go to the end of the hour if we want to.
All right, all right. I actually thought you had to leave,
Yeah, I
but
thought I did, but I rearranged things.
all right, that's good. Um, guys, keep on sending in your questions. So, today's session is more of a Q&A session because it is an introduction session where we want you guys to get to know who we are, and that's why we're asking each other so many questions. This way, you can understand who we are, what our goals are, what our plan is for mind to mind, and basically, like we're here to help create awareness for mental health and mental wellness, and give tips on how to survive this tough world, because it is a tough world. It doesn't matter where you are from. And yeah, so if you have any questions, you guys can ask us. And we will be doing this on a bi-weekly. That is, like, we're doing this this Wednesday. Then we're not gonna do it next week. We're gonna do it on the other week. And hopefully by then we are going to be sharing some articles that are written by myself and Dr. Claiborn on various mental wellness topics. And you guys can ask us questions on all our social media platforms.
Also,
And
if you have ideas for topics, and we have many topics that we can
Mhm,
talk about, but I'm not as familiar, obviously, with mental health questions and issues in Kenya. And
mhm,
so, in between our sessions, if you could let us know what some topics are that might be of interest to you, that would be even better. Some
yeah.
recent articles that I've written, I've just been looking at this, were, what do therapists do? Um, what are some ways of handling emotions? Um,
Yeah.
how do you, what happens if you happen to be a disabled person? How to handle having a disability? Some recent ones. What characterizes happy relationships? Um, things like that. I mean, there's just a variety of things of interest. So let us know. Give us feedback what you'd like us to talk about. And but in each session, you can interrupt and ask questions. I mean, we don't want this to be just lecturing. We would want it
Yeah.
to be it's an interaction with you all. And
Hmm.
so even if you have a question that isn't even related to our topic, go ahead
Yeah.
and ask it. And a lot of times, as you can tell, both of us are good talkers. We can, bounce off of your question and go into something really interesting. And so it really is a team effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, it's what we were talking about. Like, help us help you, and you help us as well. I think
Yes,
it's.
yes.
I think that's what mind to mind was like. Being mindful. Would you like to discuss about our topic?
The mind to mind. Well, we were
Yeah.
thinking that it is about the mind. The
Hmm.
articles I write for a newspaper here are entitled Caring for the Mind. And so it's about, what we think in our mind and what we've learned. But it's also about the mind of the other person. So
Yeah.
when we communicate something with you all, we're concerned that it connect with what you're interested in and concerned about. And so it's your mind receiving and sending messages back to us. And anyway, we thought of the title "Mind to Mind" as a
Yeah.
as a good one.
And you can also view it in the sense that it's my mind sharing what is in my mind, and you sharing what is in your mind as well. Like there are so many different ways you can view this, and yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
do you have one last question for me?
Yeah. Oh, I have 10 last questions, but let me pick one. Um,
Uh-huh.
let's see. Oh, what are your personal goals for the future, Evelyn?
Wow. Personal.
Yeah, I just mean, as you go through your life,
Uh-huh.
you have most of your life still ahead of you. Uh,
Yeah.
do you have personal goals or milestones or things you'd like to do or experience? Places
Yeah.
you'd like to see?
I
Um,
For me, on I like to think, let me I think I'll answer it on the four perspectives, because like the holistic well-being is about learning how to balance the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul. So for me, for the body, like my goal is to be healthy. I have been going through some physical problems like for the past 2 years. I have been sharing that with you, like in therapy, and a lot of the viewers don't know. A lot of it's only like my close family and friends who know that I've been having some health issues for the
not
past two
now.
years.
It's not limited to those people now.
Yeah, so like, yeah, I thought like it's important for me to share because
Sure.
um it has been the most challenging part of my life, and I have gone
Yes.
through a lot in my life, but this has been like the most it has really been challenging for me mentally, physically, spiritually, like just not being in good health. Yeah, so the goal is to be healthy, and that way I have been like on an intermittent fasting diet. I have been working out. I've been doing some pilates. I don't know pilates, how do you guys pronounce it in America?
Pilates.
Yeah,
Yes, we
pilates.
have that.
Yeah, I've been doing that, and yeah, so I have a like body goals, but I don't view myself like to not um I am a huge advocate of body positivity. So yeah, and you need to also take care of your body. I feel like I'm spiraling. So my second goal, I've spoken about the body. So the mind, my goal for the mind is to keep learning. Like I love learning, read more books, do more research, on all aspects of life, not just the psychology. I would like to, in the future, to actually become a doctor in psychology as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I can say that is my goal in the mind perspective. For the emotional side, um, the heart, I would like to be a wife. I would like to have a family, kids. Yeah, that is also a goal of mine. I recently turned 30. Not to say that I'm pressuring myself or anything, but I feel like I'm at that stage in my life where I am ready for a family. I am ready for the next step in my life. Um, I'm ready for the family life. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
feel like I have been working on myself for a while now. So, and I feel like I am ready for to have other people in my life.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah. So spiritually, I am a Christian, and I usually like spend time with God every single morning, and I also like to understand, like, like um understand myself like on a spiritual level. And yeah, so basically I think that's my goal, and to be, I don't know, like trust him more and all that. Yeah, so I think basically that's it.
I have a goal for you that I would like to suggest.
Uh-huh.
I would like you to go when you have a chance and pet the rhino at the elephant sanctuary. That would be,
You're speaking about the David Shadrick.
excuse me?
The David Shadrick, it's an animal orphanage for young
Yes,
elephants. They
yes,
feed elephants.
yes. Uh-huh.
Been there before. Yeah,
And you
but
can
I think that's a good goal.
pet the baby elephants too.
Yeah,
Oh, that's really, really wonderful. So
I
that would be
will do that, and I'll be sure to share when I do.
one thing
Okay.
I'd share about myself is we've always had a dog or two dogs, and
Mm-hmm.
so in if there's reincarnation, I would like to come back as a dog.
Wow.
I
Why a
just
dog?
I don't know. I just have always loved our dogs and
Uh-huh.
find them just relaxing and very nice, enjoyable animal.
Mhm.
Plus, you can pet them, and I'm very tactile that way. So anyway, let me know if you do that. If you get to pet the blind rhinoceros.
Yeah, I will. I will. I have one last question for you. And what is your interest in Kenya's mental health? And like, where do you see, like, what are your goals for mind to mind?
Well, I'm interested in mental health for everyone in general, but it's
Mhm.
partly because I've always felt an affinity to Africa in general, even from childhood. And then our trips to Kenya, I found the Kenyan people to be so um, admirable and friendly. And I just think that anything I can do to help, it's a culture I understand a little bit. And the fact that many people speak English really helps. Um,
Yeah.
a few years ago, I was about to do a workshop for the police department there. It didn't work out, but I was really anxious, eager about that. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's something I think that where I can make a difference, but I also am very curious to learn about it. So I'm not going into this thinking that I know the answers. I know,
Yeah.
different cultures are different, and so obviously I'm going to be learning a lot from the viewers and people who
Yeah.
send us questions. And so I'm very excited about that, looking forward to that. I wish I knew more people personally in Kenya, which, I know a few people, but not very many. So that's
Yeah.
partly what I'm hoping to get out of the mind to mind.
Yeah.
And like I said before, if anybody independently wants to email me and ask questions or have a conversation, please make my email available, and anyone could do that.
Yeah. I will do that. And yeah, Mind to Mind is basically a platform for mental health wellness and mental health awareness. We would like to discuss any and every other topic that you guys are interested in. And I hope that it will be a platform that will help people. So if you feel if you're struggling, or you know someone who is struggling, maybe you can share this channel to them, and hopefully we can help each other. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, no, I think that you said it very well.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. Like, our time is up, and looking forward to our next session. And I would like to say goodbye to you guys. I don't know whether um, I would like to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. For all who joined us, share to as many people as you can. We are going to be sharing articles that we have both written about various mental health topics. You guys can also share whichever topics that you'd like us to discuss. And yeah, so do have a lovely night. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr.
Yes,
Claiborn. And
thank you
yeah,
too. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks for all the people who were watching.
yeah. So do have a good night, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.